the NBA appears to be in store for a very action-packed offseason. If you ask the top-tier reporters or high-level insiders, quote-unquote, they'll tell you the same thing. And that's exactly what Shams Charania talked about yesterday. I'm not sure how, but it kind of slipped through the cracks. Many reacted to what he had to say about LeBron, of course, him apparently opting into his player option and that being the likely route for him to take. I talked about that and made a video about it, but not many people are reacting to, weirdly enough, that Shams said this might be the craziest NBA offseason ever. Or I guess in his own words, the most craziest ever. And here's what he had to say about it.
We were chit-chatting with you earlier, and I don't want to out what you said privately, publicly, but you said, hey, this might be a pretty active summer here for the NBA. Let's start with some of the big names. Giannis, obviously the big name that everybody thinks is going to be on the move. What do you think about him? What do you think the expectation is? And am I accurate in saying this is going to be an active summer for the NBA?
Pat, this is the most, I think, anticipation team executives have had over an offseason. I think this is going to be the craziest offseason of I don't want to say all the time. We just came off a trade deadline. We just came off a trade deadline that I think it was the craziest of all time. I think this offseason might be the most craziest ever because I think there's so many.
Most craziest ever.
That's crazy. MCE.
Most craziest ever, dude.
Most craziest ever. Probably grammar police is like it's craziest ever.
No, you got your point across. It's the most craziest ever.
Because I think what you have right now is you have the parity
English
in the league.
class sucks.
It's so thin right now. Like as far as the thin line of where you can win a championship or you might be falling into the lottery. And I think the ability to go out there and improve your team and get there to championship level, I think that's on the minds of everyone around the league. So how can you elevate your team?
Well, he said it. There's going to be a ton of action this offseason. Everyone from guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, maybe a guy he didn't mention like Bam Adebayo for example, they could all be on the move. And well, the Lakers could and probably will benefit from it. After all, whenever a big trade happens, even if you're not directly involved in it, which I don't think the Lakers will or really have the ability to do. I mean, they really don't have the assets to trade for a guy like Giannis, let alone even a guy like Bam Adebayo. Maybe, but probably not. But even without that, they still can benefit from a trade happening, and for example, like what the Celtics did with Jrue Holiday, which eventually led to them winning an NBA championship, or at least in part from him, they can benefit in that way. No, not trading for the top tier star, which in that case happened to be Damian Lillard being traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, and Jrue Holiday being traded as part of the trade, ending up in Portland, which the Boston Celtics took advantage of and adding him to an already very good team, which again led to them winning an NBA championship. Although it didn't translate to more than one, even one championship is very good, and like I said, a team like the Lakers or some other contending team looking for that final piece might be able to take advantage of if that happens again. And in my opinion, it's pretty likely to happen when a guy like Giannis or Kevin Durant would be traded. There's going to be a ton of moving parts in that scenario. A bunch of role players end up being traded to a rebuilding and a team that doesn't really want them. Again, like Jrue Holiday to Portland, that team will then look to trade them again and make them available from the jump. And I mean, we can directly point to this. If a Kevin Durant trade, for example, would happen, the Suns would then look to trade or even make part of that trade veterans like Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Cody Martin, Vasai Micic, I definitely did not pronounce that right, or even Nick Richards, veterans like that would either be a part of that trade or sent to a third team that would probably look to immediately trade them again. Other contending teams would definitely be interested in that. I imagine the Lakers might be interested in a few of them, and that's simply one example here. And then let's say they would trade Kevin Durant to the Rockets, and that's something we've heard about. Maybe a guy like Dillon Brooks might be traded in that deal. You know, the Lakers might not want him and try to pair him with LeBron James, but again, simply for example, another veteran that would likely be on the move here and would probably be sent to a third team that doesn't really want him. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't, but you can never predict the trade market. And then for Giannis Antetokounmpo, veterans on the Bucks like Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, even guys like AJ Green for example, could be on the move or immediately become available thereafter. And once again, I would definitely look into that situation. And then if Giannis would get traded to a team we've heard about like Brooklyn for example, then maybe guys like Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, other vets on the team might be traded as part of that and possibly rerouted to a third team again, and I would definitely be interested in that kind of deal. We've talked about Nick Claxton, we've talked about Cam Johnson, both of which are great fits for pretty much any team, but especially for a team like the Lakers, that might be a situation they could benefit from. And not to get too carried away here, but honestly, when players like that get traded, guys like Giannis or Kevin Durant, it's rarely if ever a 2-team trade. More often than not, it's like a 3, 4, 5, or even 6-team trade at times too. And yes, that's actually more of a possibility. When guys like that get traded, it takes a ton of trade assets, and then factor in the new salary cap rules and the new CBA with it, trying to navigate the first and second tax apron. That's when teams have to get involved and make it a 3, 4, 5 team kind of trade. And well, the more teams that get involved, the more moving parts that are within each trade, which benefits other teams that are not directly part of the trade, but then can try to take advantage thereafter. Again, making trades for the guys that are included but not really highly sought after in the trade, being sent to rebuilding teams and teams that don't really want them long term. That's how a team like the Lakers could benefit. Not by trying to go after the big fish here, not by trading for Kevin Durant, Giannis, Bam Adebayo, anyone like that for example, but then trying to benefit from the after effects, which are a very real thing and we see it every single year. I already mentioned the Damian Lillard trade and how the Celtics benefit from that, getting Jrue Holiday and building a championship team with it. But then how about a team like the Pacers, for example? Way back in 2021, as part of the James Harden deal, they got involved and got Caris LeVert out of that deal. Later on, they then traded Caris LeVert for Andrew Nembhard and Ben Shepherd and future draft compensation. So their current team is built off a big trade that they simply became a part of, getting Caris LeVert, then trading him for future assets, and those assets have now become a big part of their current rotation. Simply put, it comes down to savvy veteran general manager work, and sometimes you don't see the effects for 1 to 2 years and oftentimes even 3 or more, especially if you're a rebuilding team, but that's kind of what it comes down to here. Not always trying to go after the big fish, not trying to get the Giannis or Kevin Durant's of the world, but simply trying to benefit from a trade, getting smaller pieces and then turning those smaller pieces into really big parts of a future team, or even a short-term thing that could benefit your team right now. And if the Lakers are smart here, if Rob Pelinka is smart and uses their limited trade assets wisely, maybe even gets a part of a big trade and kind of benefits like the Pacers did with that one, they might be able to help their team out a lot, both in the short term and long term future too. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see them pull off a massive trade and get a mega superstar like Giannis Antetokounmpo. That would be fun to see, that would be fun to watch obviously, pairing him with Luka Doncic and getting that kind of star power in LA again, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's not shooting for the star player or simply nothing. It's trying to make a smart, savvy move that benefits their team in the short term and hopefully long term as well. Not simply shooting for the big star, but helping your team around the edges, getting a quality role player, maybe it be a center, maybe it be a 3-and-D wing, finding that right piece of their team that propels them into a much better championship level situation, not simply vying for the first or second round. And with all the predicted movement and potential massive offseason we have ahead of us, they're in a great position to do it. Whether it's making the big trade, whether it's being involved in the big trade, albeit not getting the superstar involved in it, or simply benefiting from the after effects, they have a great opportunity ahead of them. So I guess all we can do now is sit back and watch how they try to take advantage of it and what kind of approach they take with it. Will they be the first domino that falls? Will they be a benefit of the after effects, or what will they do exactly? It should be and likely will be very interesting to watch play out. The strategy they take with it, how Rob Pelinka is either aggressive or takes a more patient approach, and simply how they navigate the potential crazy offseason we have ahead of us. So with that in mind here, what do you guys think? What kind of approach do you think the Lakers will or should take this offseason? And do you think it will in fact be a crazy offseason? Or are we simply getting hyped up for a lot of potential disappointment? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.